So back in Nashville, this time with the the Hasselblad 503CX, and I've taken out and shot it a little bit. It's really just pretty extraordinary. Just from the first one or two times out, mostly family photos, and just shooting a little bit in the park. It's excellent, and I like it a lot. But it's a big old chonky boy, so taking on a trip where I'm carrying a small bag, it's pretty tough, I gotta say. But I managed to fit the XS20, the Hasselblad, only one lens. I took a wide angle lens, and the absolute GOAT, the a 246 monochrome, probably my favorite 35mm of all time. Not in digital, yes, I know. But the only film camera I bought with me is the old Hassie, and it's in pretty good shape. It's a little beat up on the outside. The internals are great. Shot black and white on it. Haven't shot color on it yet. Shot only black and white on it. And so far, man, the lenses and everything just seem to be working pretty well. I'm pretty happy. I'm excited. And today is my second day here, back in Nashville. Unfortunately, yesterday it was raining, and today it's cold and overcast. For the first color film, I think portrait is going to be at 400 for today. I've got Fuji Pro 400H, frozen and expired, and I've got HP5 and some Tri-X, good old Tri-X in 120. It's becoming my absolute favorite now, so always going to have that on hand. We'll see how today goes. Obviously, I'm back home, and if anyone was able to tell from how I looked in that first video, I looked and sounded like crap because I was exhausted. For some reason, that flight, that whole week kind of took a lot out of me, and I ended up not going out that day. I was just exhausted. I loaded up the old Hassie, the 503CX. I had portrait in there. I think I took one shot, and then I was just like, man, I'm dying. I went back and went to go lay down, and I think it's been like 2 months since this trip. I never finished the video. I just remembered, I figured I'd finish it now. I got to shoot my monochrome, the M246 monochrome as well. I had a good time. So what happened was, I decided I'm not going to do this to myself. I'm not going to go out. I felt pretty good the next day, but it ended up being more of a family day. And having a kid now, shooting around all the other stuff is really the only way. So any excuse I can get, any time I can take to go and practice, I'm going to take every opportunity. The next day was like, well, we're going to go find a playground for the baby. When I found a playground, it happened to be right next to a trail, like a hiking trail, which, man, this was not a hiking trail. This was a walking trail, paved the whole way. And it was a little bit of a letdown. It was kind of like, man, I figured there'd be better nature and outdoors stuff near Nashville. I think there's a lot of hiking and national parks in Tennessee. I think they're just not where I was, or rather not easily accessible to where I was. There was like a dog park right at the beginning of it. Made a little doggy friend, which is always good. Just kind of took my time trying to just work on composition because, the sun was almost directly overhead. I didn't have a lot of good directional lighting, and then I decided I'm just kind of going to walk around and take shots and, fairly pedestrian stuff. I'm not really used to these lenses yet to figure out how much I can get away with until it either completely washes out the image or flares enough where it ruins the frame. It doesn't have a meter, which is not the end of the world. My M3 doesn't have a meter, my Canon 3A doesn't have a meter, and it doesn't really bother me. With black and white, not really an issue at all. You kind of check your exposure, the highs, the mids, and then the shadows, and you make your determinations from there. You don't need to keep metering anyway. I decided that I'm not really going to heavily edit these scans, and I did expose it at box speed. I've shot it in 35. It's just expensive for not the best, or rather my favorite film stock in 35mm. But yeah, you know, purely simple compositions and stuff. And then just tried to get some decent video footage given the lighting was just so bad. But then I ran out of Portra, shot my last frame, and then I had HP5. No, it was Tri-X. I had Tri-X, and I decided, you know what, I'm not gonna shoot this roll of Tri-X. The lighting is terrible, and I'll probably get another chance to take the Hasselblad back out, and then I'll get something good that way and shoot that roll of Tri-X and try to maybe shoot it at 1600. But, you know, I never got that chance. So I put the Portra, you know, I rolled the Portra up, put it away, and then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna shoot some stills with my XS20. For some reason, I'm falling out of love with digital more and more, and I'm really, really, really enjoying film so much more. 35mm film so much more. 120 as well, but 35 is just easy, straightforward, especially black and white. You know, cheap if you're rolling it from bulk film rolls, you know, 100-foot rolls, 200-foot rolls. Anyway, I got like 2 or 3 really surprisingly good shots given the light with that XS20. The stills on the Fuji XS20, which is the same sensor as an X-T4, it's just it's a really good, really reliable camera, and that sensor is just really good. There's no faulting it, except for like the X-Trans demosaicing in Lightroom is still a problem, and it still sucks. But you get pretty good usable images out of it for like social. If you print them out large and then you go up kind of close to them, you can be like, something weird going on here. So, you know, traveling with this camera, it's a hefty camera. I didn't like traveling with it. That's the number one thing. Using it, absolute pleasure. It's got like, everything is super duper positive. I'm not the biggest fan of the coupled aperture shutter speed on this camera. So the aperture and shutter speed are mated, which means you kind of set your exposure, because it's technically a studio camera, right? And it's supposed to be like on a tripod and stuff, because it's 6x6, massive negative, big shutter, big mirror, huge mirror slap. Like, it's really, you can feel the thing just go, like, just slam and shake and stuff. But I got sharp images because there was plenty of light, and I was stopped down a good amount. But, you know, you have to hold the little toggle here to disconnect the aperture from the shutter speed, right? And it tops out at 500. I wish it topped out at 1000, but it doesn't. It's not the biggest problem. But once you set your exposure, I like to be pretty exact with my exposure. But again, I don't meter all that often. I just kind of determine by taking a couple of readings. And this, when you're moving between light and shadow a lot, and you've got like a high contrast scene, and it can get a little bit annoying to have to just push that little button in order to decouple your shutter from your aperture. But if you're out shooting street and you know exactly, like for instance me, in most situations, you know, given the lighting, in most situations, I am pretty close to middle gray if you're shooting black and white, but it also works pretty similar with color. So I can kind of just look at where I am in the light and then meter myself, and then determine what other things are, how many stops over or under other things are, and just have a pretty good idea of things. So if I can set this to, you know, determine that, okay, so I've got f8 at 1/125th, right? If I want f4, or I've got it at f8 at 1/125th. So if I want f4, it'll take me to, oh, where'd it go? There you go. Come on, see, it's annoying. So if I go to f4, I'll be at 1/500th. without having to change anything. It's just the same exposure. It's just coupled. They're just mated now, and that's just how it works. So long term, you kind of forget about it, you get used to it. But I'm gonna say I'm kind of on the fence about whether I want that, whether I like that or not. I'll probably end up liking it just because, you know, these are just very well thought out machines, really. I was a bee to fly with. You know, TSA always just makes me stand around for an hour while they ignore me because I've got film and I've got this, and they're like, what is this? Is this an RPG or something? You know, you look suspicious, and you've packed a bunch of suspicious stuff in your backpack, and you know, you might as well just get naked or something. But for road trips, man, this would be great. And then if you've got this and the XS20, the XS20 is a tiny, tiny little camera, and you can have a photo video solution for travel, and you've got just unbelievable image quality. And these Hasselblad lenses are incredible. Some of the best medium format lenses ever made on one of the best medium format film systems ever made. I hope this bit of journaling was enlightening, helpful, entertaining, whatever. Definitely not entertaining, but we'll see. As I continue to practice at this and get better, hopefully we get somewhere. But yeah, I'm still out trying to shoot film mostly every day. So subscribing would be nice. I'd like to do this more often. I'm hating it less.